Hey friends, I'm going to do two videos about budgeting. This first one is going to be about fixed predictable income budget, which is good for example, my husband and I, where he's hourly and I'm hourly, so we could pretty much always predict almost down to the penny what we're going to get every paycheck because it never really changes. For people with salaried incomes, this is super good because you guys can predict that really well. I'll do another budget for those with fluctuating budgets as far as your income is concerned. Now, that's the only part that's flexible in the budget, and I'll show you how we brainstorm our budgets. So before we do it chronologically, but before we even start, we start before the month begins, so on the 29th or 30th of the month before. And then the first thing we'll do is we'll make a list that kind of looks like this one, where it's not in any particular order. You can see like 15th and 10th, 3rd, 7th, whatever. But we're just trying to remember all of our bills that we can anticipate and count on for that month. So you're always going to count on rent, your internet costs, car insurance, student loans, utilities if you have a car payment. Your food can stay pretty consistent if you're on a budget, etc., etc. And we always put the date that's related to it on the left-hand side and then how much it is on the right-hand side. And it just makes it really easy for when we go to start doing things chronologically. Then what we do is at the very top of our paper in a really big, encouraging number, we'll write down how much is in our account. Now, even on the bills and on the number that I'm going to start with, I'm making numbers up. So I'm going to make myself feel nice and comfortable here. And we'll say that we started this month with about $1,872.65. Sure, why not? That sounds good. So that is the big number in big print that we started with on, let's say, December the 31st, because it's the 31st and we made it through Christmas and we're doing a budget. So we know right away that on the 1st we have rent. And so you write that number there, the amount, because you're just going to add basically in a column. And also on the 1st, Terrell in this imaginary situation is getting paid every 2 weeks. So there's his, $1,000 or so that he makes in this scenario, right? And I put a great big plus in the front because my brain's kind of dumb. And when I'm punching in numbers, I'll totally miss something that's a positive if I don't make it obvious that it's positive. So then the next thing is the 3rd, right there, the car payment, which is also imaginary. We don't have any car payments. We have 2 crappy 10-year-old cars. But so there's that car payment. And then the next one is the 5th, the internet bill. So I'm still writing the 5th right there. You can say internet like that. It's not rocket science, but it helps it be both chronological and with numbers. So the next thing is food budget, which is $175 food on the 7th, and then woohoo, I get paid. Little part-time job, let's say only about $390. I put a nice big $sign. I like seeing those, so there's a positive again. And so you're just trucking along, kind of chronologically putting down things as they're happening to you. And we always kind of do a middle of the month reassessment every month. All of our bills come in the middle of the month, to be honest with you, all around the 15th on the dot. So we tend to do a readjustment about the 18th or so. Whenever that happens. Now I'll give you a tip that we like to do. You can see up here, even in the imaginary situation, I have 2 bills on the 15th, and then actually I say that he gets paid on the 15th. I always do a budget where I do the 2 bills first. So I would say car insurance for the $136, and then the student loans for the $200. Both on the 15th, and what I like to do is I like to add it or subtract up until that very moment and get a final number here, and then even though it's still on the 15th, I like to put the money that's coming in after that, after I have this number right here. Because I like to know, just maybe from being paranoid, that if his paycheck never comes in, or if there's some stupid delay, or if there's a problem, or whatever, that we're still going to be okay, if that makes sense. But I think that's just the finicky woman mind that I was born with. I don't know. Maybe it's paranoid, maybe it's protective, I don't know. But I don't like chipping into the emergency fund if I can anticipate any kind of problem. So thanks for bearing with me. I'm just punching in some numbers in the trusty calculator. And so I'm going to get a final answer of how we're doing in our imaginary budget before that second paycheck comes in. And with direct deposit, it'll probably be in the bank account, but, you know, like, I don't know, I just want to make sure, so. All right, 1872. And luckily enough, in this example on the calculator, you can see we were at 1677.65 before his paycheck came in, which, as his wife, always makes me very, very happy. So, of course, now we're at the 2677.65. And we can move on, continuing on, obviously, with how those bills keep on adding up chronologically and the physical amount of them. Now, we do the check halfway through the month because then, you know, we would have supposed to have made it through the 3rd and 5th, 7th, 8th, 10th, 15th, all these big bills, plus got paid. And after that nice big solid paycheck, I kind of tend to want to go, okay, now let's look at the second half of this month with the bills and this and that. And, you know, just to make sure that there hasn't been any major changes, something that we couldn't predict. Like, for example, oh, well, this looks well and good, but right here on the 12th, you know, we had an emergency doctor visit because of the flu that was going around. So now all of a sudden we have an extra, like, you know, $50 copay here, plus like a $35 medication or, you know, whatever. So there's an extra $85 that we weren't predicting. Well, that's fine. You just kind of, I'm a scribbler, so I just kind of added in really teeny tiny into that line right there, and then I would scribble this one out, and then I would figure out, okay, what's that number supposed to be? And then, you know, after I scribbled it out and put the real number, which is going to be $1,500 something after another $85 is gone. It's $1,592.65. And that's what I do. I'm just a scribbler. It's not a big deal. Life changes, life happens, and that's as hard as it was. Like, oh no, you know, I had to scribble out a number and write another one. It's not a big deal. Don't panic. So I'd do the same thing there. I'd scribble that one, and it's plus 1,000, so it's 259265. So that's all it is. And hopefully too many of those kind of unforeseen things won't happen. People get all uptight about what are variable costs, like are utilities fixed costs or are they variable costs? My utilities last month were $85 and now it's $125. Ooh, that's variable. Whatever, we're just predicting numbers into the future. It works the same exact way. Say this number, we got our utility bill, and the utility bill was only $105.42. We would just scratch this out, because I'm a scribbler, and you would just add or subtract it the way it was supposed to be. Just do this adding or subtracting again and figure out what that number was going to be. It's really not rocket science, and I think that's why we've been able to stick to the budget. But once you've had a couple utility bills where you're living, you know, you kind of can project, okay, you know, it's going to be about some amount and you're going to be pretty close. And stuff like the internet and your car insurance, it usually doesn't ever change. So I don't stress out about what's a variable cost or what's a fixed cost. I just try to throw a guess out there. I put it in the budget. If it's a big difference or any difference at all, I just do some scribbles and use my calculator again, and then lo and behold, I can check and make sure everything's okay. And at the end of the day, this one will, you know, assuming this is the end of the month, this one will roll over to, you know, February the 1st is when that will be there. But the hardest part about doing a budget is understanding that once it's on paper here, it's supposed to be how life is supposed to be. So if you add in a bunch of trips to the mall or going out for Chipotle, then it's probably not going to look like this anymore. And that's when you need to start having discussions with your spouse that goes, okay, let's be fair and face life like adults and understand that we go to Chipotle twice a month and it costs us $22 for the two of us every time we go there. So that's going to be a $44 a month Chipotle budget. And if you think it's stupid to put Chipotle on your budget, then you're not facing reality like an adult person. So go ahead, and if you know for a fact that you're going to be going to Chipotle, it's better to put it in the budget so that way you can see that money coming out of this number than pretending like this number doesn't count or doesn't matter and just completely going off the budget. And if you happen to accidentally stumble into a Chipotle, then do what I did right here, squeeze it in a line item, and redo this. But try and stick to the budget. Anticipate for the things that you're going to do, shopping trips or whatever, and be realistic about your life. This number needs to be in the black. If you're finding yourself in the red every month, then maybe you don't need to be going to Chipotle twice a month. Maybe once a month or never, or maybe you need to lower one of your bills. But face your life as adults, and this has worked really, really well because we can also put it on the calendar once we do it on the budget, so we can see, okay, on the 15th is when car insurance and student loans, two big bill hits right there, boom, we have to be prepared for that, and we always have to be able to prepare for rent, at the beginning of the month, and that's another big hit. So it's really great, a predictor tool, and to keep yourself on track. That's why we do budgets, not to have no fun, but to face life like adults and to be able to, right here we have student loans, I'm working my way out of student loans, but that's what adults have to do. We have to pay down our debt, right? So I believe in you. I know you can do it. This is a real super easy chronological budget, and it'll help you a lot, especially if you're kind of flying free with no anything to keep you on track or to even see how your life is right now. So it's really great, and leave your comments below. Let me know if it works out for you when you do a chronological budget, and if it didn't work, what your pitfalls are. And I believe in you guys, and I know you'll do just fine. Hope this was helpful. Much love, Melanie Hobby. Bye.